And I really appreciate the fact that Divya is still sitting here trying to lead her entire community with the high fever. She had a fever yesterday. So let's see. Okay, 11:30, 328 in the Zoom room, almost about 2,470 across various Facebook pages and groups. And over to you, Divya. Can I have your mic and you can start your show?
Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
All right. Good morning, parents and educators. Welcome to yet another super informative webinar brought to you by High School Moms. I am Divya Khandelwal, who started this community to empower and enable each and every parent in this country to guide their high school kids better. After years of hard work, today, High School Moms is not only backed over by 10,000 parents, but also over by 1,000 school principals, counselors, and university representatives. We are proud to say that thousands and thousands of parents trust us, trust High School Moms for guidance and directions simply because they know when it comes to their kids, moms want nothing but the best for their children. While world continues to question us and compare us with the large companies, we just want to tell everyone we are High School Moms and we have arrived. Without taking much time, let me request the super energetic, highly motivational, Times Education icon, India's leading career counselor, Mr. Abhishek Gupta, to take this forward. Over to you, Mr. Gupta.
Thank you so much, Divya. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it once out loud in the chat from all of you. A big YAY, a big YAY in the chat for the super awesome panelists that we have today from Flame University, all the way from Pune, a beautiful campus right in the valley I have visited. Amazing team of professionals. Let's hear it out loud. Let's make them motivated. With your YAY, I want all of them in the caps, nothing in the running letters, all of them in the caps. Once again, YAY from you. Super awesome. Thank you so very much. All right, so this webinar on liberal education, part 2, is in continuum of our last webinar. In the last webinar, we discussed about what is liberal education. We talked about how important is liberal education. We also talked about how liberal education is the future. And today, we're going to take it a little forward. We have almost 500 people in the Zoom, much beyond my expectations, Santosh sir and Anju Dioskar. We have almost 3,500 people on the Facebook groups and pages listening to you guys. I want nothing but a very, very candid talk, a very candid talk. We are not talking to professionals here. We are talking to mothers. We are talking to fathers who are really concerned about their kids' career. So let's keep it simple. Let's keep it interesting for them. So guys, let me introduce Dr. Santosh Kudarkar, Dean of School of Liberal Education, Flame University, the pioneers in liberal education. Dr. Kudarkar holds a master's in physics from IIT Madras, a PhD from Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai, a theoretical physicist by training. His research interests are in applications of field of theory in high energy and condensed matter physics. Okay, this is all jargons for me. Okay, so I just don't understand what is high energy and condensed matter physics, Dr. Kudarkar. I'm really sorry, all right? So this is a typical commerce kid who grew up into a career counselor. Dynamical systems, mathematical modeling in the social and management sciences. Is passionate about quantitative models and has successfully completed multiple industrial projects. Currently, Dean of School of Liberal Education at Flame University, and you have been there since the very inception. Thank you so very much, Dr. Santosh Kudarkar, for joining us. I also have Anju Dioskar, Associate Dean for Undergrad Admissions, and I'm very sure that Anju will be able to enlighten us on the student experience and the admissions requirements of Flame, which will tell people how holistic you are in your search for students, and you are just not looking at marks, so that they are aware and they are able to guide their kids well. The audience that we have is about 35% grade 12 parents, about 30% grade 11, and balance is grade 10. So that's the kind of audience we have. And it is very, very important that even grade 10 parents understand what are universities like Flame looking at. What are they looking at in terms of admissions? Okay, so let me start the show by asking first question to Dr. Santosh Kudarkar. So I hope you're not on the mute because
I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute.
All right, super awesome. Okay. Dr. Kudarkar, parents listening to you, and that to thousands of them in number, please tell them what can they take away from this session?
For the parents, I believe that most of the parents who are here grew up in the 80s and 90s. And during the 80s and the 90s, the only thing that their parents wanted from their kids was a job after they graduated from college. And the only jobs that were available were in engineering and medicine. And to some extent, the ones who went to commerce were looking at doing the CA, a chartered accountancy, and get a job. So jobs became extremely important, or extremely important in making career choices. That the fact that there were jobs available after they graduated became extremely important in the 80s and the 90s. And it's meant for the parents here, right? But things have changed dramatically in the past 15 years. I would say in the past 20 years, but then the transformation that we are experiencing maybe in every year right now is mind-boggling. The jobs that we never knew existed, even in the early 2000s, are plentiful right now. Maybe those are the kind of jobs that exist. You can't really pinpoint that this job requires an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, or a chartered accountant. But then, the world has changed dramatically. And we shouldn't be looking at the world the same lens that we looked at it when we were growing up. The kids have much broader options right now. The world is totally different. And that's what I want to emphasize in today's session.
Wonderful. So world is different. And I completely agree, Dr. Kudarkar. Who would have imagined that 4 months back when we were vacationing for New Year's, that we will have a 5 month of lockdown inside homes, and technology curve will shift big time. So possibly what has happened in last 5 months, it has, India has galloped in terms of technology adoption by 10 years in just last 5 months. So world has certainly changed, and I have a lot of questions for you there. My first question to you is, and this is for all the parents, sir. We have 600 of them right now, and some of them even attended our last session. Some of them did not. In our last session, we talked about what is liberal education. Can you please, for the benefit of the people who did not attend our last session, tell us what are the goals of liberal education program, and give me an example how at Flame you meet those goals. Just give me an example how Flame ensures that those goals of liberal education programs are met.
Okay, so liberal education, right, is not a new concept. It is as old as, the Gurukul system itself. We have always been following liberal education, except, it changed after independence because India was a poor country and jobs became more important because surviving becomes more. If survivability is the critical issue, then you would go looking for options that will help you survive. But liberal education, I don't want to go into the historical context, but I'll tell you what it is, especially its address to the parents. Earlier, going to college meant you either became an accountant or lawyer or engineer or doctor, or you went to, if you took up literature or you were a humanities student, if you took up economics, you were a social science student, right? So people were looking at skills that will help them perform in some profession or some job that they took up later on in their careers, right? But liberal education goes beyond that. It's not just skilling. When you go to a job, you'll realize that you're not working alone. You will have to work with a team. There is a lot of team dynamics that plays in. You'll have to communicate with clients. You have to communicate with your team members. You have to, make elevator pitches. Maybe you have to, what is a complex idea, you'll have to present it in 30 seconds, right? And there is also the question of leadership. There is also the question of whether you can think on your own, whether are you a follower or are you going to innovate or revolutionize? These are skills that were never emphasized in a regular conventional type of education. You go to any college, they will say, they will teach you, if you're an economics major, if you specialize in economics, they'll teach you just economics and say bye-bye, at the end of 3 years. But then jobs require much more than knowledge of economics. That's true for engineering, that's true for medicine, that's true for law to a lesser extent, because you have to keep debating with others. There is more people engagement. If you're lucky enough, you may be part of a college club where you get to interact with other students. You may be in the part of the student council and organize a college festival, but that's just maybe 2% of the college population, right? But these are exactly the skills that people in the industry are looking for. Skills are become hygiene. In being good in engineering is hygiene now. Earlier it was at a premium, but just knowing how to write some 5 lines of code is not good enough. You'll have to communicate what the code does to others. And things are so complex that you can't alone build up a huge software platform. You'll have to work with thousands of engineers, and communication skills become important. You'll have to inspire them, right? When you take, everyone moves up the ladder, nobody remains at the bottom, but you need leadership skills. And this is something that people have realized. And the World Economic Forum came up with a report in 2018 about what are the essential skills of the 21st century. Technical skills were right at the bottom, because technical skills were taken to be hygiene. There was a deficit in the 80s and 90s, but there were so many engineering colleges and institutions that emphasize on technical skills that there is a surplus of talent availability when it comes to technical. But working with teams, leadership, none of these things are being emphasized in local colleges. This is where liberal education comes in. Liberal education places these skills, right? Things like, you need to think for yourself and all these elements, and puts in technical skills at the center of it. But then in a framework where you're, learning not only how to think for yourself, that's thinking critically, how to work in a team, communicate effectively, and, lead teams, for instance, right? And be resilient. So that's where liberal education has become the only type of education that's relevant in the 21st century. That was recognized by the National Education Policy, the draft document that came out, that said all education in the country has to become liberal. Engineering colleges just can't be teaching engineering. They need to bring in the social sciences, humanities, life skills, well-being skills, and so on. The arts colleges can't just be teaching humanities subjects. They need to bring in science, engineering, and those elements. And somewhere there is a middle ground. That middle ground which brings in, these technical skills along with the other skills that I mentioned. And that's the middle ground that every educational institution in the country has to adopt and follow. The policy still hasn't been accepted because of the lockdown. It was finally tabled in the parliament. Okay, but then, it's going to happen, and every college will have to move the liberal education. Liberal will become conventional 5 years down the line.
It has to.
And
Dr. Kudarkar, I have been talking to these parents over the years, and I understand that where are they coming from? For them, it is very difficult to move beyond a simple BCom, a simple BBA, or a simple BA. It's very difficult for them to move beyond, because unfortunately, they have not been exposed to something called liberal education. Yeah. Also, another important thing that I want to drive for the panelists here, we are talking to people, sir, who do not possibly understand. And that's the only reason why a community like High School Moms has got prominence in last 3 years, and parents look up to us for right guidance. People do not understand the difference between liberal arts and liberal education. When we talk about liberal education, we are not talking about just humanities. We are also talking about computer science. We are talking about commerce. We are talking about economics. We are talking about design. And people need to understand that. So 2 points which I have understood from your explanation, sir, and this is for the parents to understand, almost 700 of them on the Zoom room. That's the power of High School Moms, sir. 700 people in an era when there is a webinar epidemic also going on. 700 people in the Zoom and almost 4,000 people watching you, sir, on the Facebook groups. That's like Flame University talking to almost like 5,000 people today. So my question to you, which I want to drive, will be after this point. So parents, what you need to understand is Dr. Kudarkar is very, very clear that future is already here. Maybe because of COVID or maybe because of something else. It is already here. Future is no more future anymore. And your and my kids need to be prepared for multitasking, interdisciplinary approach, and they have to be good in communication. They have to be good in communication. Communication is no more a strength. It is a necessary hygiene. Coding is no more a strength. It is a necessary hygiene. And a knowledge of algorithm is very important. So what you need to also understand is your child might not want to or need not become a software developer, but there is no harm in understanding or having a knowledge of algorithm. Is that correct, Dr. Kudarkar, what I understand?
Yes, yes. Liberal education emphasizes on getting perspectives from multiple disciplines, right? I'll give you an example. A computer science engineer, if he's coding for some other human who wants to automate some task, right? What are the needs of other people in society that the computer engineer should address? He needs to look at what the use cases are, and he needs to communicate. He needs to understand, talk to people, understand what their problems are, and then do it. Coding is not a task that is done in isolation, and you release a product and nobody can use it, right? So these are skills, and if you don't understand people's psychology, behavior, understanding of psychology, so to speak. If you don't know how society is structured, what are the cultural aspects of using certain icons that you may have designed, but that may be, that may not go well with certain cultures and so on, then you will be a bad computer science engineer. Nobody will want to hire you and do anything. These multiple perspectives are extremely important. Learning one discipline, which was the case, which is about getting into a program where just economics or computer science or mechanical engineering is taught, is going to do much more disservice to you than just pursuing something that's much more broad-based, that you may never end up with. I'll give a simple, for the parents here, every job involves an interview, right? If your child is not able to communicate what his strengths or weaknesses are, that communication is what will get him the job. Nobody is looking at grades. The big companies in the world, when I'm talking about Tesla or Facebook or Microsoft or Google, are not even looking at degrees. They say if you have these skills, you can communicate well, you exhibit leadership qualities, you are in. But then you'll have to convince the other guy that you have those qualities. It's not enough to score 99% in an exam. Okay, that exams are all standardized, right? But then people will be testing you, and you will have to convince a whole community out there that you can do it. That convincing is where liberal education comes in, right? That it builds on that element. I'm just simplifying too much here, because I can talk philosophy.
I really love it. Okay, so I'll show you how much parents are loving it, all right? So that you understand that you are absolutely on the right tangent. All right, everybody, this is now your time to make Dr. Santosh Kudarkar feel once again, and my request to all of you is make him feel once again that you are enjoying the show. We are just about 18 minutes inside the show, and we actually have another 45 minutes of fabulous discussion with Anju Deoskar and Dr. Santosh Kudarkar. Give me a big A for applaud, A for appreciation, A for Anju Deoskar, A for Anju Jairaj from Flame University. Give me a big A. Make them feel that Dr. Santosh Kudarkar is being able to reach to your heart, your soul, and you are right there. You are learning from him because you really want to make a difference in your child's career. Look at that, sir. If you can see the chat,
Yeah,
look
I
at
can
the
see
power
that.
of High School Moms. So you are bang on, sir. You're bang on. This is no other webinar, sir. This is not a simple webinar. These are mothers listening to you who really want to make a difference now, sir. And all right, guys, thank you so very much. I'm going to put up the chat so that we are able to focus on the questions and focus on your learning. Thank you. Thank you so much. Chat is not stopping. Oh my God. Okay. I had to stop it, myself. It wasn't stopping. Okay. So question here, sir, before I have next question for Anju. So Anju, you have to be ready for the next question. This question is to Dr. Santosh. You have been very simple, very direct in making parents understand that, and I'll give you the data, 35% of the employees at Facebook, Google, and Microsoft, sir, do not carry any formal degrees. And this data is supposed to go up to about 56% in next 4 years. That's projected. If something as dynamic and as, if something really dynamic happens, like COVID happened, things can actually change overnight, right? So 35% of employees at the top league companies do not carry any formal degrees, and parents, you are still running behind the same old 18th century curriculum taught by 19th century teachers to your and my kids who are born in 21st century. For God's sake, for heaven's sake, listen to Dr. Santosh Kodarkar and Anju Deoskar from Flame University and take learning something back home. Sir, what is the difference between a simple BBA, a simple BCom, a simple BA degree, vis-a-vis liberal education program? And why do you think that people like me, who are actually shouting on the top of their voice right now so that they can be heard, are in favor of liberal education? We are counselors, you are an academician. Give them both the perspectives, sir.
Okay, so I'll look at what conventionally is a BBA or a BCom or a BA, right? You would go to college, you'll join a certain stream. Let's say you're, for BA, you'll do a BA in English or BA in economics or a BSc in economics. I'll take this example, or a BBA, for instance, and I'll keep mixing it up. You'll go there and you'll study economics for 3 years. But economics is a social science, right? You are looking at how people respond to economics is mostly about money, and it's and how it incentivizes people to do or not do things. But then if you're just going to learn math of it and not the way people behave, the psychology of people's behavior, how society is organized, if you give it to the economists, the economists and the politicians are always at loggerheads because the politicians are responding to society and the economist is thinking in a very narrow-minded fashion. You students who study economics, only just economics, and don't borrow perspectives from other disciplines, tend to be very bad economists. Right? You'll never succeed in the field because you need to have these multiple perspectives coming in. And BBA, for instance, again, you're in business, you're trying to serve certain need that is there in the community, right? That's there in society. You're trying to fill a gap. That gap, identification of that gap. What are how do people? Is there a demand for it? Again, you're interacting with people. Without how will you market a product without knowing what will appeal to people at all, right? Advertising, for instance, you need to have a hook that will catch people's attention. So all these things require different perspectives. If you notice, when I said when catching people's attention, it is psychology. Understanding people's needs, how is society organized? That's again sociology and psychology, right? What are the incentives that make people respond in a certain way? Economics, psychology, right? And you can make these connections, on and on. That disciplines cannot be siloed. You cannot just say I will study this independent of everything else. You need to bring this. Conventional education doesn't teach you sociology while teaching economics, right? Doesn't teach you math, doesn't teach you technological developments that are happening. Because remember, people are, creating wealth for themselves to the use of technology. Now, if with an economist who doesn't understand technology, will be a bad economist. So what the impact of lockdown on economy, and Abhishek mentioned that we have jumped nearly 10 years in the technological curve just because of the lockdown in 5 months, right? And if an economist doesn't understand the implications of technology, very bad. It's not going to help him succeed in his career. So a liberal education, BA or BBA, tries to build a base from which a framework where multiple perspectives can be brought in. What I mean by multiple perspectives is psychology looks at human behavior, right? Individually, so to speak. Sociology looks at, behavior of a collection of individuals. That's society essentially, right? Science looks at, science and technology looks at using tools and, trying to understand the world. Environmental impact is very serious right now. Climate change is a very serious thing. It is impacting economics and, tax rates for businesses and all because of environment. You just can't build a chemical factory. There are, you'll have to ensure that environment is protected. You need to understand all these elements in before you dive into a discipline. Right? If you want to do a business degree, you better have an understanding of the foundational discipline, sociology, psychology, the technological aspects, sciences, should have a feel for numbers, right? Mathematics. And also, you may become a businessman, and what is the big thing about, let's say, Apple products, right? Apple revolutionized one thing. It was not just hardware, it was the design itself. The aesthetic sense also has to be inculcated. What appears attractive is aesthetics, which comes from arts. And if you are going to release a badly designed product, the product that doesn't look very good, people are not going to buy it, right? People will buy something that looks good, that appeals to them. What appeals to them comes from aesthetics, right? So all these elements have to be incorporated as the base. It can't be an add-on. It has to form the foundation for when you do a BBA. Maybe you want to be a very good marketer, but these elements have to add to your marketing knowledge. That marketing itself is borrowed from different disciplines. Even commerce, for instance, right? In commerce I would say commerce and business have not much of a difference, except that you will be doing a lot more accounting in commerce than in a BBA degree, right? But then these elements are very critical that you understand things from different angles. This is what an employer is looking for, that you have a holistic view, a 360-degree view of what you are trying to address or in the area that you are working in. And not just be an economist or an engineer and not know anything else other than these things.
So is that the reason why universities like Flame, and I do have a fan following myself for Flame, like I've been telling my parents every now and then that I visited your camp. I am in an awe of your campus. And before I ask you the next question, Dr. Santosh, I have a question for Anju. Anju, you are on the mute, so if you can unmute yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Abhishek.
I visited your campus. I met Anju Jairaj, who's also in the frame. Unfortunately, she's not switching on her camera. And Anju Jairaj, you look really pretty. Why don't parents have a look at you? So if you can actually start your camera. If you can't, it's okay. Now, I visited her. She gave me a tour of the entire campus. I mean, your library is bigger possibly than my, than my previous school. It's like huge. Can you tell me what is that reason that you had to spend or create a campus inside that valley, that beautiful infrastructure? I'm very sure it has a reason, because why would you invest so much in a campus like that if there wasn't a reason? So I'm very sure there is a reason. And the reason is far more, important than what I am understanding or what parents understand. So a campus as beautiful as yours, right inside the valley, surrounded by the hills, and an infra which I was in real awe of. I consider parents, this is super awesome. You really need to check out some videos on YouTube about Flame University. You will also see that, all right? Anyway, so what are the various student clubs and activities which you offer? How do they help in the student experience? And is campus an integral component of a student's experience? Answer is to come from Anju Dioskar, and if Santosh sir wants to add, I'm more than happy. Please go ahead.
Sure. So thank you, Abhishek. So the first thing is, while we're very proud to be part of, the university which has the most awesome campus, but the idea to have that campus is to facilitate the kind of academic goals the liberal arts education has, what you just heard Santosh sir. It is the complete, a lifestyle. The students, even who are living in Pune, I mean, they don't come from or commute from home. It's a completely purely residential campus. And it's like it's a home to, a lot of students. So everything had to be obviously taken in, consideration. All of this, I think, encourages students when you're, like you just mentioned, Santosh sir mentioned the aesthetics of, I think, around us is very, very important thing. If something is looking nice, it gives you positive energy. So the entire process of, developing the whole thing and to make it where we are today is about giving a very, very holistic experience to students, and which makes them really, really happy. Coming to the second part of your question about the clubs, so students have a freedom to explore their interests and talents. They can be a part of any clubs, which are like, it could be a singing club or a photography, social activities, debate club, marketing clubs, investment, entrepreneurship club, literary clubs, and many, many sports clubs. And if there ain't one which interests you, you can start a club. Okay, I mean, I know somebody mentioning that a girl who was really interested in Zumba started a Zumba club. All you need is 15 to 20 people who could join in as part of the club. So now if you see, you club these kind of experiences which are out of the academic interest of the student and the environment that creates, I think that's what makes every student and Flame really, really happy and proud to be part of that beautiful valley where we are situated.
Right, wonderful. So it's like this, parents. If I have to simplify what Anju Deoskar said, we know that our child paints well. The first thing we want to do is to give a child a great coach who can enhance the skills of the child. What we fail to understand is that we also need to give the child great equipments. We need to give the child great colors, great paper, a great brush, so that the child can really paint well. And that's why you see that artists do not use X, Y, and Z color. They might be using Rembrandt. They are great artists already. Why do they need to spend so much on the colors? It's simply because you are not a great artist if you are not using a great equipment. And same is the case with education. So if your surroundings are not prim and proper, if they are not encouraging, motivating, positive, possibly your kids and my kids will not emerge as positive individuals in life. And education is supposed to prepare them for life, not just for a job. All right, so my next question to Santosh sir. This is critical. This is super critical. You told me, and you told the parents right now, that a child should study something beyond economics, because in an eco course for 3 years, a child will study economics, right? In engineering, the child will only study engineering. Let me put you in a spot, sir, and tell me if you have an answer for this.
Yeah.
You are trying to tell me that at your university, Flame, a child can come and study eco and something else as well. And what if that something else is like a digital marketing? Or what if that something else is, let's say, communication? Or maybe computer science with economics, and I want to get into data sciences. You're trying to tell me, is that possible?
Yes, it is.
Like, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but to us, this is incidental, right? So, when I said that you need to have understanding of multiple disciplines, you're not, every child is studying an element of economics, sociology, and so on in the first year. And then when they specialize, that's when they choose what is known as a major or a minor. That's their, that's what they would like to focus more of their attention on. They would have been exposed to all the disciplines, but they would like to focus more of their attention on maybe 2 disciplines or 3. It depends on what they intend to do, but we restrict our students' interest to just 2, because they shouldn't be spreading their attention too thin, right? So for an economics student, a lot of finance students, these are my favorite examples. A finance student is doing finance for the career and they are passionate about money, but they also have a passion for theater, for the fine and performing arts. So they can get a specialization in both finance and theater. And many of our finance students, have gone on to do very well in the industry, especially in the performing arts industry and so on. A film and television major can be a psychology minor or a math minor. I have a student who is a math major and a film and television minor. So minor and majors are specializations. You can, by regulations, you can go on to do a master's in the area of your major and minor. You earn enough credits to get a master's in the field. Later on, you can pursue a master's. The word minor may say that it is not important. No, it is equally important. Our curriculum is extremely rigorous. Liberal, there is a misconception that liberal means easy. No, it is not. You need to put in nearly 50 to 60% more work than what a conventional college expects you to do. It's at the minimum. And then, you're not just doing something like this. So for instance, you're balancing, let's say, a science, you'll do mathematics with design as a minor, right? Or, mathematics with film and television, mathematics with digital marketing. So these guys get jobs in the analytics industry and so on, but many of them go abroad and pursue advanced degrees in the field, right? But these guys, when a student who is doing mathematics, for instance, that's a very easy example to give, is looking at problems that are affecting society, by the way. So I had a student who I guided who did crime modeling crime. Crime, you would think that, only the criminologists do it. But then, that student had enough understanding of sociology, anthropology, psychology that she could apply. And she was a mathematics student, by the way. But she had done all these courses at Plame early on because this is a requirement of liberal education, that she could easily read advanced research papers in crime, in crime modeling and crime, how crime happens and so on, and build a model that can be utilized, let's say, by a city, by police in Pune or whatever, So these interdisciplinary is the way to go in the 21st century.
All right. All right. So I want to understand, and parents, this is very, very critical. And my request to all of you is that you need to just, when you have invested about 30 minutes into this session, it is very, very critical that you invest another 30 minutes in this session, because the most important things are coming at the last 30 minutes now. So sit back, be there, be in the chat. Give me once again a big A in the chat so that we know that you're listening to us. A big A once again in the chat. Just keeps us motivated. Thank you, guys. This is a great show going on right now. Santosh sir, I understand, and I'm happily surprised that students can study theater along with economics in your school. And according to me, a theater not only gives you experience of fine arts or performing arts, it also makes you very confident to face the public. Glossophobia is the second biggest fear after death, sir.
Yeah.
Right? What it means for the parents, this is important for you to understand. Glossophobia means fear of public speaking. It's the second biggest fear after death in the world. So if a child is able to enhance and improve the communication skills, 99% of the people in the world cannot speak in public. So imagine when you look at people like Anju or Santosh sir or Abhishek Gupta, and you give that wow that they are able to talk in public, we are actually just 1% of the world. Don't you want your kids to be in that 1% by making them study communication skills along with economics or psychology? And sir, the weird part is, before I come to my next question, and my next question is to Anju. The weird part is people think that if I am doing eco honors, I have to become economist.
Yeah.
You don't realize that by combining economics with psychology, I can get into market research, I can get into human resources, or I can get into consumer behavior, or there is another field of economics called behavioral economics. Unfortunately, I get almost like 3,000 parents a year personally. So my personal profession is I'm a career counselor, right? As a career counselor, there are people who come to me asking about zillion careers year after year, from the kids of the politicians to normal kids like you and me. People have normal kids, right? And they always look at one-dimensional approach, whereas what you are talking about and what you have emphasized is that multi-dimensional approach. All your answers I've been carefully looking at, they are all multi-dimensional approach answers, right? So before I come to the next question to you, sir, my question to Anju, all liberal education universities, including Flame, you are accepting SAT as an entrance test. You're accepting it, right? Now, there are loads of parents at high school moms whose kids either write SAT or they're thinking of writing SAT, but they have this weird doubt in their mind that SAT is only for US. So let's clarify it for them. Do you accept SAT as a liberal education university? Does it make sense for them to keep on writing it? Because, you know, it definitely, when I talk to them, I definitely tell them it makes sense. But now coming from a great university like Flame, it possibly would, you know, drive the point. Over to you, Anju. Do you accept SAT in your admissions?
Absolutely. So at Flame University, we accept SAT, SAT and ACT scores at the very entrance when we ask the students to fill up the form. And the advantage of, though if to the other category who do not take, they can write our FEAT exam, which we can talk about later. So the advantage that the students have when they write SATs, ACTs is that they have a ready score in hand. Maybe, you know, because SAT students normally start preparing themselves in grade 11 and towards the first quarter of your 12th. So you have an SAT score, which kind of helps you in time because at that time when they're in 12th, I think students are very heavily invested in preparing for the board exams. And this would be an added, interest from the student or the parents where they might have to take some time out to give these exams. If it's an entrance exam with multiple colleges, which of course not many colleges accept SATs in India, but at Flame we do accept. And the advantage is, like I just said, that you have a ready score in hand, but we do not guarantee an admission with SAT because, like you've been hearing from Santosha, it's a very holistic approach to academics. Hence, our selection process is very holistically towards having a very well-rounded student. So we're going to emphasize on their SAT, SCT or FEAT score, their past academic records, their co-curricular interests, their essays, their personal interviews. So it is not going to be just one element that gets you through. It's going to be a multiple dimensions we're looking at in a student.
Wow, wonderful. So that really drives my point, Anju. I mean, at High School Moms, we are going through the season 1 on profile building and holistic development of a child. And your answer is weaving well, because just yesterday, I did day before yesterday on Friday evening, I did a live session on Facebook where I was telling the parents that it is very, very important to look at the holistic development of a child. What is the cause which is close to their heart? What do they do outside the classroom? So what you're trying to tell me is that a university like Flame does not only look at the test scores, whether it is SAT, ACT or FEAT, but also looks at the holistic profile of the child. So the parents must be actually putting a lot of attention to profile. All right. So there's a word that you used, Anju, right now. But before that, let me clarify. So parents, you need to understand, SAT is accepted by 36 universities in India now. All right. So you can definitely think about writing the SAT. But Anju utilized another very, very beautiful word. What did you call it, Anju? FEAT. What is that?
FEAT exam. Okay, so that's Flame Entrance Aptitude Test. So for those, since SAT is a standardized assessment which is internationally accepted, it's not of Indian origin, and a lot of universities in India have, technical universities have the standardized assessments. Nonetheless, the other universities may not have. So we have something called as Flame Entrance Aptitude Test, which again essentially is focusing on, it's a process-driven thing where we're looking at verbal abilities of children, reasoning, quantitative ability, general knowledge. So it is similar to SAT, but not exactly like SAT. So again, there also the elements are pretty much broadened. It's not narrowing down that we're checking you only on, particular content. We don't want the content to be just mugged and repeated on a question that we give. It's again more reasoning,
right?
And yes,
sir, Santosh sir, this is a question from the parent. Okay,
Yeah.
Shikha Das Gupta, from Calcutta. She is asking. This is a beautiful question, and parents, you are definitely supposed to listen to this, because this is possibly a question which is bothering each one of you. Santosh sir used a jargon called major and minor. And I promise you, I am batting from the parents' side. I am definitely not batting from Flame's side. So I am going to make it difficult for Santosh sir. He used a jargon called, there is something called a major or a minor. Let's hear it from him. If somebody does a major in economics, sir, can that person go ahead and do a post-graduation in economics? Yes, no, maybe. Very simple question, very simple answer, because parents want to know. Like Arnab Goswami says, India wants to know, here parents want to know.
So a major is American jargon for an area of specialization. So if you went to Delhi University to do an economics, Americans will call it a major in economics.
Okay.
Right. So obviously, you know, the content that's covered there, and that's going to be the new jargon after the national education policy will come into play. Even the national education policy is talking about majors, minors, and so on, which was not very frequently used in the country. So the jargon vocabulary comes from Americans. Okay. So the special, what you get your degree in is called the major, essentially.
Okay.
A minor is a secondary area of specialization. Let's say you do around 20 courses in your major. In Flame, we do 18 courses in the major. That's we'll do 18 courses in economics, plus around 30 odd courses in other areas just to understand economics better, right? There are around 48 courses that people do in Flame. Whereas in conventional universities, they'll do around 30 odd courses. So when I said 50-60% more workload, it's much more different. Liberal doesn't mean easy. This is what it means. Okay. A minor is you do around 10 courses in the minor. So American universities give a major with just 12 courses in the 4-year program. Of course, they expect the same things that we do in a liberal education curriculum. I'm just talking about American universities here, which follow the liberal education framework. So what we call as a minor is equivalent to a major from an American university perspective, but you can go on to do a master's in the area. Yes. So a lot of our students, for instance, a business marketing major and a psychology minor have gone to American university to pursue a graduate studies, master's in psychology and PhD students. There's one student who's doing a PhD from Berkeley right now, right? So, you know, so major or minor are just areas of specialization. In the major, you do a lot more courses than the minor, but in both the areas, you can go on to do a master's in the field. Yes.
How is it possible for you to talk in such a simple language, being what? High energy condensed matter physicist? How is that possible? I'm loving this, Santosh sir. I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving this. It took me, my tongue twisted 5 times reading out your introduction, sir. Right? And no wonder it took me 3 months to bring people like you onto the panel. And parents, you really need to understand, there are 650 of them still holding on to this discussion, sir, after almost 45 minutes of this discussion over. Now, it doesn't happen on a normal webinar. It doesn't happen. So which means that they are thoroughly enjoying your talk. My last question, or maybe second last question to you is, you told about major and minor, right? Or maybe I'll ask a couple of more because they're very interesting questions coming to my mind now. You told about major and minor. I want parents to understand that it always makes sense. Most of the great universities or universities of the future, including Flame University, and like I said, I'm a big fan of Flame, parents, and I'm putting it vocally on record. Including Flame offers a 4-year program also. What is the difference between a 3-year graduation and a 4-year graduation? Why should I do a 3-year graduation, or why shouldn't I do a 3-year graduation and prefer a 4-year program? How does it help? One, I know that if you want your child to go abroad, then your child needs 12+4, especially in US. So that helps, right? Otherwise, your child will have to possibly do a master's 1 year here and then only go abroad. So 12+4 wala system pata hai sir. Is there anything more to it?
Yes. There's absolutely more to it. The reason why American universities expect a 12+4 for masters is that they want mature students to be in class. They don't want a 19-20-year-old sitting and discussing, stuff or learning stuff which requires immense intellectual maturity. And remember, you're learning alphabets for many years in school. You keep learning the same thing till 10th standard and then start, going into micro specializations like economics and so on. In lower school, at primary school or middle school, you're doing social science. You're not doing economics or sociology separately, right? Mental maturity is what the American universities are looking for. And they think that anybody, and this was an answer given to me by the chancellor of a very big university in the US, they don't want anybody who is 20 or 19 years old who still has to become mentally mature to pursue a master's program, unless that kid is a prodigy, an exceptional genius who has jumped high school and come to college, and very rarely you
Something
come
like Sheldon we watch on the...
Exactly, Big Bang Theory, right? So they want some, the average age of a master's student in the US is 24 or 25. You can't even go to an MBA without having 4 or 5 years of work anyways. So that's the reason why American universities do it. But if you look at all the stuff that I said, when I said 18 courses in economics, let me give you these numbers. In college, you could have just done it in 2 years. Why do you even require 3 years, right? Let's say you have a semester system, you do around 4 courses or 5 courses a semester and you're done with the economics degree. But education is not just studying economics. Education, what the stuff that I mentioned is trying to connect the dots, understand many other disciplines requires a lot more time, right? Those things can't be done. If you just wanted to teach alphabets and addition and subtraction, why do you want to spend 10 years of, put the child in school for 10 years? Why should there be 12 years of schooling? That's the question that you can ask. Because there is a certain mental maturity, intellectual maturity that a child gains as they become older and older. So every liberal arts education program in the world, the minimum duration of the program is 4 years, because that's what it takes to bring in these multiple perspectives. And I'll give you some statistics. Right? In the US, less than, in public universities, less than 15% of the students finish their graduation in 4 years. They don't have a 3-year program, they have a 4-year program. In India, most of our students finish their graduation by the time they're expected to complete. Because in the US, they value learning more than getting a degree. They want to explore, they want to study more and more, and they will take more time as usual. The private universities which are Ivy League, the graduation rates are around 40%. What it means is in a class of 100, just 40% or 50% of the students, and that's an average. But in the more expensive colleges, it will be higher. But on average, just 40 students are graduating in 4 years. They're taking, the average graduation duration is around 5 to 6 years in the US, by the way. And if you look at the median student, is taking 5 to 6 years. It's not because they're going out to do some job or whatever. To them, learning is more important than the degree that they are getting. And in the US, what we call as liberal education here, and when I said multiple perspectives in the US, it is called general ed requirements. These are general education requirements that students have to fulfill to bring in all these perspectives. So 4 years, actually, I would say undergrad education should be at minimum 4 years, but ideally 5 years. Okay. But 3 years is giving students in today's day and age a raw deal. But in India, we follow 3 years because our education system has come from the Commonwealth, the UK, and there, they standardized it. And India, we can't offer 4 years till the new education policy comes in as a 4-year BA or BSc degree, because UGC says that minimum duration for a BA degree has to be 3 years.
Sir,
so there's a regulatory constraints.
Sir, you as a dean, have to be diplomatically correct. As a career counselor, I can actually blast the Indian education system every day and day in and day out. When institutes like IIMs could not offer degrees, what more can we talk about our UGC and AICTs of the world? God only knows, right? But I completely understand, sir, and I'm sorry to cut you short there, because I definitely we are already at 12:23 and there are some questions which are coming from the parents, and I want you to definitely answer them because it is a big takeaway from them. And the first question that I want to take, and this is I was told that FLAME has international associations. I don't know what you call it, research associations or tie-ups, whatever might be the language technically be. but you have an association with Kelly, which is number 8 in the world for undergrad business, Indiana, if I'm correct. You have with Boston, Amherst, Yale, Sciences Po in France, York in Canada, King's University, Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. What is these many tie-ups doing? Do you have what? So a parent is asking here, Sonal Parekh, is there an international study module, or is this more like a research and an academic tie-up that you're bringing the best of the knowledge from those, because these are great names, names, right? So what do you bring? What do you mean by this tie-up?
So it includes all these things, including student exchange, right? You know, what we have put up,
so
student exchange.
Awesome.
So what happens in many of these tie-ups is that, you know, when we have a tie-up like this, our students can go and study in Kelly or Amherst or, you know, or Wellesley, which are among the top 3 liberal arts colleges in the world, or York or whatever, by paying us fees and not paying their fees out there. Okay. So for instance, a Kelly will charge you, you know, if you were to go and study there for a semester, at least $30,000 to $40,000. That's around, you know, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, right? You know, you just pay out semester.
It's about 40 lakhs a year.
Yeah. So, yeah. So you pay fees to us and you can go and study there and not pay fees to them. Their students come and study with us and by paying the fees to their home institution. These are known as many of the exchanges that we have are on a what is called a tuition neutral basis. Wow. You don't have to pay the fees to the foreign institution at all. You just have to take care of boarding and lodging, and all the credits, the courses that you do are counted towards your degree, and if they count the courses that their students do in flame towards their degree in Kelly or Amherst or York or Sciences Po or all these big places that you mentioned, and our students, when they go abroad and do their courses there, you know, we count it towards the student's degree out here.
So you're trying to tell me that I did not need to go to UCLA. I could have actually come to Flame to study.
Yeah, so you could spend at least 6 months to a year in UCLA and then come. But we don't have a tie-up with UCLA. So
no worries. As an alumni, I can try and make you reach out to the right people, though I'm very sure at your level you already know them. So someday it will happen, and I'm a big fan of UCLA. All right, so last couple of questions, and this one I'll take it head on. I have a parent asking me, why are liberal education universities in India expensive? So my answer to the parent out there is, expensive is relative. When you look at 35 years of long career, and when you look at the return on investment that you have to get on 35 years, expensive should become relative for you. And to all the parents out there, मेरे से एक learning ले जाइए, and this is as a lead advisor of High School Mom speaking. We are very happy to take loan on the car that we will take out from the showroom. And the moment that car will come out of the showroom, it will depreciate by 5 lakhs. We are not ready to take loans on individuals who are supposed to buy 5 cars like that in their lifetime and possibly make 8 houses like that, the one you are living in with an EMI. Question mark. Answer it to yourself. Second, though liberal education universities are slightly more expensive than the traditional universities in India, that's simply because it takes money to build an infrastructure like that, and it takes money to give you quality like that. Lastly, once your child is into a great liberal education program, the 4-year program, like Santosh sir said, will not only prepare. देखिए एक संस्कृत का श्लोक है, मेरे लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अलसस्य कुतो विद्या, अविधस्य कुतो धनम, अधनस्य कुतो मित्रम, अमित्रस्य कुतो सुखम. Which means आलस के बिना विद्या नहीं आती, विद्या के बिना धन नहीं मिलता, धन के बिना मित्र नहीं मिलता, और मित्र के बिना सुख नहीं मिलता. So please understand, if you do that आलस of 1 year, your child will be earning a lot lesser, because the employability skills are a lot lesser than the skills that the child gains in 4 years. You need to understand that. All right. Now my last question before we possibly take 1 or 2 more questions, because we are almost way out of time. My last question is, sir, what are the career pathways? Santosh sir, I am unable to see you move. Your screen has frozen. Are you there or have we lost? Oh, you're there. Okay.
I'm back. I just lost power here. Problems of working from home.
My last question to you, Santosh sir, is what are the career pathways? So what are the academic and career pathways which traditionally students, because parents really are concerned about their job prospects right now, right? So every time I send my kid to a program, I understood I should send my kid to a program at Flame because it is multidimensional, it is liberal education, you have great tie-ups with the great universities, great infrastructure, great student experience, everything is falling into place. What are the kind of jobs and career pathways that the kids have got after graduating out of Flame, sir?
So, the career pathways, so I'll tell you this, it's the same. The jobs that our kids can get are much more than a job that a regular kid can get from other universities, because they bring in, so we are not preparing them for one job, we are preparing them for multiple jobs that are out there. Okay, so that's where they jiggle around. Many of them join consulting companies, many of them go abroad for master's programs. Then they would have focused on, they'll be very clear on what they want to specialize in. Many of them start their own companies. And a lot of students are in have started their own ventures. They've become so confident with an education like this that they get the necessary skills for what a master's program would give. You give it in the undergraduate level itself. So but if you look at the companies that arrive at that come to recruit from let's say engineering college campus, okay, and look at the job opportunities that our students have, it is much more diverse than what they have.
And I've been told a lot of consulting companies also have hired people with economics and psychology background. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's if you look at, that's what's happening right now. So consulting companies require, economists are in big demand, and psychologists too.
So economists,
and especially a psychologist who can crunch numbers is in big demand. Psychologists, is not just about learning theories, but it's also about understanding, measuring, people's attitudes and behaviors and all, right? So consulting companies do a lot of research and other things. They're not just looking at MBA grads, by the way. There's a big chunk of people who they recruit from undergrad colleges, and the people that they recruit from are the ones who have a holistic, multidimensional perspective, right? They're not just looking at somebody who has scored 99% in economics and doesn't know anything about anything else. And that's a challenge, companies. It's very easy for a liberal education grad to get in because he's got very good communication skills. He has a multidimensional perspective and he does quite well in life. So,
wow, wonderful. So, okay, so I understand we have a lot of questions, and parents, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your patience for sitting through it. Another last 5 minutes and we are done with the show. I will definitely not be able to take all the questions. So what I've done is I've asked my team immediately to create a Google form. And the Google form is now on your screen. I'll ask my team to paste it multiple times so that people are able to look at the Google form. My request to Anju, you and your team is, we are unable to answer a lot of questions. There are almost at the peak, there were about 720 parents, not possible to answer all the questions. So if you can, I'll request the parents, you can fill this Google form. We'll put it into the chat a couple of times more. If you have any questions, just fill up this Google form. If you want any information from Flame, fill it up. I will request with folded hands to Anju and her team. Please, these are parents. They may or may not be wanting to join Flame, but if they have a question, please reach out to them and answer them. And I know you guys are great people at heart. You guys have gone out of the way to come and help high school moms. You have given twice the time that any university gives us. Yes, it took me 3 months to convince you guys to bring here, but you guys are super awesome people, thought leaders in liberal education. So you guys really will possibly be able to give some time to these parents.
Absolutely, Abhishek. We'll make sure that all of them are answered, and we'll definitely, they can just get in touch with her. We can do absolute one-on-one counseling, understand their individual problems or questions they have, and we'll definitely take care of it, Abhishek.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
So one last question, Anju. Somebody asked about that liberal education in India is expensive. Do you have scholarships for the for the merit ones?
Absolutely. And you asked the question to a wrong person. I have the answer, but I want Santosh sir to answer because the kind of, I think, emphasis we give on children's academic credibility and merit achievement is phenomenal. And sir, please, over to you. I know you'll answer it the best.
So we have a lot of merit scholarships. We have a lot of merit and need scholarships too. We know it is expensive. I'll take on Abhishek's question earlier that he answered very beautifully. I'll use his answer later on to about the EMI thing. Okay. But then the reason why it is expensive, all liberal education programs in the world are expensive, not just in India. The liberal arts college in the US charges more than a Harvard or a Yale, by the way, in research universities, for one very simple reason. We run classes with one student and one faculty. Our faculty-student ratio is 1:9, probably the best in the world. And faculty resources don't come cheap. And mentorship is extremely critical for us. But we also want the best students to come to us. So we have a lot of scholarships, and which doesn't look at your financial background at all. If you do well in the entrance test, do well in the interview, we talk to every student who applies to us. You impress the interviewer, and we see potential in you becoming a leader in life. Later, you will get a very fat scholarship. We are not going to lose that student because the student is not able to afford it, right? So this is again, it's a kind of.
It makes me feel so good that if the student is deserving, you will not let go of the student just because of the
absolutely.
That's called ethics, people. That's called ethics. When a great university says that we will not let go of a child because the child is unable to pay if the child is good. So there is a big if, and you have to ensure that your and my kids, we have to ensure that they are capable of making to a super awesome, super fabulous, amazing university like Flame. Then let's go for it. They have these scholarships. Thank you so very much, Santosh sir. Thank you so much, Andu Dioskar. Once again, the form is in the chat for all of you. For all of you who want to ask questions, we will send the form even in the email to all the attendees out there. Even at the end of the show, we have about 510 in the Zoom and dropping, and almost like 1,500 on the Facebook till now. So you have reached out to thousands and thousands of people on the High School Moms Network. And my request to all the parents, especially the mothers, go out there, become a part of the High School Moms Facebook group. That's High School Moms Facebook group. Go out there, follow us on High School Moms Instagram handle, that highschoolmoms.community. Be a part of the tribe that Divya has started. One lady, one mother, trying to change the entire education ecosystem in India, bringing universities like Flame closer to you. This is Abhishek Gupta signing off from now, and that's Santosh sir and Anju Dioskar from Flame University. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhishek.
Thank you, Anju. All right. Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you, Shalini, Sahiba, Sabiha, Suchita, Rita, and somebody asked me that will I bring Kriya? Next on the cards will be Kriya. Ladies and gentlemen, I will definitely try and bring Kriya to you to talk to you very soon. I am in discussion with Narsi Monji. It's a big university. High School Moms still tends to be smaller for some universities. It's a great university, bigger university. Definitely trying to bring them in. If they are kind enough, they will agree to come and talk to the thousands of parents at High School Moms. Make your voice heard. Join High School Moms Facebook group. Just search High School Moms on Facebook. Join it. Join High School Moms on Instagram. That's highschoolmoms.community. Follow me on Instagram. I'm there at abhishekgupta.coach. Please do that. Make your voice heard. Let the people understand that parents have arrived through High School Moms. Let them understand. Thank you so very much. Have a great day. Stay indoors. Stay safe. Bye-bye.